boy, these pretzels are making me thirsty. That that line was definitely one of the more popular lines of the series, which to me makes this one a little bit of an underrated but popular episode in the entire series. I did read, however, though, and I'll explain why as we get later in the review, apparently this was Jerry's least favorite episode in the series. I'll explain, of course, why, apparently so, when we get to the certain scenes that took place in this. But I like the alternate side. It's definitely like another, like, good, I wouldn't say it's the best episode, but of course, it's well known because of the line, "These pretzels are making me thirsty," and the fact that, there's a Woody Allen production going on in this episode. A lot of different, I wouldn't say there really was like one, like, main, well, probably, I wouldn't say there was like a dominating storyline. Well, no, there was. Jerry's car being stolen. The episode starts off with Jerry wondering, how his car got stolen. He thinks that they just crossed the wires. Kramer, of course, mentions the idea of trying to call. No, I'm sorry, not Kramer. George mentions the idea of calling his car phone, because Jerry first was going to cancel his car phone service, but Jerry calls the car phone and the car thief answers the phone, and who basically was voiced by Larry David. And Jerry's like, "Did you steal my car?" "Yeah, I did." "Can I have it back?" "Nah, we'll keep it. I'm going to drive around for it." Kramer takes the phone, though, and asks the robber if he can sometimes stop by and bring him the pair of brown gloves that's in the glove compartment. He's like, "Okay, yeah, I will do that," which he eventually does at the end of the. It was revealed he did at the end of the episode. But of course, then Jerry's got to, get a rental car in the meantime until he gets this straightened out. Of course, he also talks about, he finds out that the reason why his car got stolen is because Sid, the guy who moves cars from one side of the street, the block, to the other, who works like for a few hours a day, he accidentally left the keys in the car. He's going to be going away, though, for a few days, though, the following week, so there's not going to be anybody to park the cars. George, though, who's fascinated by this idea, like, wow, you make a fortune working just for a few hours a day, you make a lot of money just by moving cars. He thinks it sounds like a piece of cake, and he's, unemployed at the time, still trying to, find a new job. So he basically offers to move the cars. While that's going on, there's a Woody Allen movie being filmed on Jerry's block, and Kramer mentions that he's an extra. He was just standing there watching the production the other day, and someone just came over and asked him to be an extra. So then Jerry goes to the rental car place to get a rental car. Elaine tags along, and she's telling him about how she's dating this guy. His name's Owen March. He's a brilliant writer, very, very smart and whatnot. But there's only one thing, though. The guy's 66 years old. So that's probably like a good 30 years older than Elaine. She's like, yeah, he's in perfect health, but he works out, and they get along well, she claims. So then Jerry, of course, which I had a customer recently at work reference this scene, goes up in the classic scene of where he goes to get his car, I guess the kind he had reserved. There was none left. We have nothing available this time, and Jerry's like, "I don't understand, I made a reservation." And yeah, we got the reservation. Unfortunately, though, we ran out of cars. But the reservation keeps the car here. That's why you have reservations. And the lady's like, "Yes, I know why we have reservations." And Jerry's like, "I don't think you do. Because if you did, I'd have a car." And basically, you know how to take the reservation. You still know how to actually hold the reservation. Which, I'll be honest, has happened at work a few times with the drinkware products that we sell and whatnot. So, obviously, there was nothing the supervisor's going to do other than the fact that offer a compact card. Not the exact one Jerry wanted, but he took it. And he also signed up for the insurance. And, of course, though, then as he signed the papers, him and Elaine are still talking about Owen, and Elaine's like, I enjoy being with him. He's great. And then the next scene, probably a few days later, she doesn't like being with him, so she was getting ready to break up with him. She's like, "Do I have to do it in person?" And Jerry said, "How many dates will you want them?" 7. And then Jerry said, "Face to face." And she's like, "But," and Jerry's like, "If it was 6, I could have let you go." Um, so, and of course, there's a lot of car honking going on outside. Um, then, well, first off, Kramer then comes in and he reveals that he, as an extra, he was carrying some groceries in the background. He tripped, and Woody was just amazed by his physical comedy. So because of that, they gave him a line in the movie, which was, "These pretzels are making me thirsty," and everybody's in there, telling Kramer how to recite the line. George, who came storming in though, because he has a bunch of issues going on outside with moving the cars. He has a car overheated, an alarm that won't go off, and he's spazzing out, and there's all these car alarms going off. You hear down there, so obviously it's already chaotic. So then he goes back downstairs. Well, then of course one of my favorite parts of this episode, whenever George is reciting his version of "These pretzels are making me thirsty," and he goes off on this rant, which I jokingly did a couple times when I was in a transitional phase of trying to find a better job, and when I was single and not meeting anybody. And then George was just like, "How do you not know this pretzel guy? Maybe he's all alone in all the press, because he's got no money, he got no job, he's got no woman, and he's parking cars for a living." And then of course the people are beeping the horns from down below, and then George looks out the window and he's going, all right, shut up, I hear you, I'm coming down, these pretzels are making me thirsty. Speaking of which, he turns around and he's like, "Yeah!" Basically like a mic drop moment. So the scene cuts. Obviously, it's later on today. There's vicious banging at Jerry's door. Opens it up, and Elaine's carrying Owen on her shoulders, and he basically just passes out. And then Elaine's begging Jerry to call an ambulance, and Jerry's like, "Boy, he took it really hard." And they lay it down. And these scenes are actually why Jerry considered this episode his least favorite. He just wasn't comfortable doing these scenes with Owen. I don't know if it was because there was a dead man laying in there, and I guess it kind of in some ways took away a little bit from the element of the show of being more of a comedy, but it was a little more morbid with not a dead man, but a guy who's unconscious. Is being shown on camera and whatnot. But basically, Elaine said that they're out for a walk, and Elaine was about to break up with him, but he started to twitch. So then Jerry calls an ambulance, and then Kramer comes in, rehearsing his line, "These pretzels are making me thirsty." And then he sees Owen's like, "What's going on here?" So they're trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They don't know what happened. They don't know if maybe they're trying to raise his head, give more blood to him, or they're going to put a sponge on his face. They thought maybe he needs something to eat, so they tried to put cookies in his mouth. But of course, Owen being unconscious, he couldn't swallow. And so everybody's freaking out, and Elaine's like, "Where is the ambulance? It's got to get here." And all of a sudden, we hear we hear the ambulance coming. Then we hear a big crash outside, and of course, Elaine's still looking out the window, and things are going nuts and everything. But then the paramedics finally make their way upstairs, and then they reveal that there was traffic. It had been 35 minutes since Jerry had called the ambulance, but they said that they had been there for 25 minutes, but the traffic was crazy out there, and finally, the ambulance slammed into a blue Escort, which of course is Jerry's rental car, and George got distracted by Woody Allen, which caused that accident. So that chaos is in the midst of all this chaos going on. Jerry's freaking out about his rental car. George is hurt and apologizing about it, and he's under a lot of pressure with this car stuff's not as easy as he thought it was. again, and then there's Elaine and Owen, and Kramer's running in, like, yelling at George, saying, what you doing out there? You're messing up the production of the show. We can't shoot." And he says how Woody's very mad at him. And then George was kind of like sad that Woody Allen hated him. He's like, "Should I go apologize to Woody?" Kramer, of course, says he didn't want to admit he knew him, but then he goes, maybe if he and he says maybe if he talks about, he'll bring it up. But also the paramedics were like, "You shouldn't have put cookies in his mouth." Also, in a deleted scene, Elaine asked Jerry, "Do I really have to go to the hospital? I was just about to break up with him." And then Jerry was like, "Elaine, 7 dates, consistent sex," whatever we're going to call it. He goes, "I think you're entitled. It's what you signed the contract for." So Elaine went to the hospital. Of course, eventually, Sid chewed out George for how much damage he did. Jerry went to the rental car place, and they gave him the estimate. Even though Jerry bought the insurance, he was not going to be covered by the insurance because Jerry was not the driver of the car. So, of course, that just angered Jerry. And then Elaine eventually, it was revealed in the papers, of course, the chaos, what happened with Owen, as he was a famous writer, that he had suffered a stroke. So Elaine was taking care of him, but then one day she basically breaks it up. She breaks it up with him. Of course, trying to be gentle, but getting a little like laying it on hard, sometimes saying like it was a bitch to get there. And Owen, who can't talk, was like, "What the?" But she breaks it off. And then the last scene was they were in Monk's, and Elaine was asking if you could die from an odor because it smelled horrible by the subway station. But then she mentioned she had bumped into Owen, so it hadn't probably was like a few weeks or so after she broke it up with him. She saw Owen, and he was just about recovered, but he had told him that he was just using Elaine for sex. And then of course Jerry's sitting there, and about to pay the bill, and then George offers to pay for it, saying, "I smashed your car. This is this." And then Jerry's like, "Yeah, a cup of coffee will help out." Then in comes Kramer, who says he was fired from the movie because they rehearsed his scene, and then Woody yelled action. He says, "These pretzels are making me thirsty," and then he takes a swig from his drink and slams his glass down, and it breaks. One of the pieces hit Woody, and he started crying, and he yells out he's bleeding. He runs off the set, and then he gets fired by one of the production people. He goes, "Boy, I really nailed that scene." And he throws something onto the table and slams it on it out of anger. And then Jerry's like, "Wait, what the?" "Oh, for crying out loud. It was the brown gloves that Kramer had told the robbers about early in the episode to bring to him. They brought it back to him." But of course, did Jerry get his car back? I guess he did eventually. I don't know, but that was an episode. A lot of chaos that just nothing worked out in favor for anybody. Dumb luck, terrible luck this time. Oh boy. But like I said, according to IMDb, this was Jerry's least favorite episode because he was uncomfortable with the scenes with Owen. Like I said, I'm guessing maybe because, the idea of having like an unconscious, possibly dying man, on live camera, for a bit, for a comedy, maybe kind of took it out of the element. I mean, I get they're trying to, make a comedy about decide how, to care for him, with with the cookies and everything, which didn't work out. But I kind of understand why. But still a good episode. Definitely one that I enjoy. Most of these episodes upcoming are pretty darn good. The next one's a very good one too, which also has a very iconic moment. One of my favorite George moments in the next episode, the red dot. And we're also coming up close to our first two-part episode in the series also, which I also really enjoyed. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the alternate side of Seinfeld. A lot of these episodes have a lot to talk about for sure, especially the tape. I went on and on in the tape, but what can I say? It's one of my favorite episodes. But we'll be back here with the red dot, which is the next episode. So guys, What were your thoughts on the alternate side? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video. Subscribe for more content to my channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandAirboy93. Till then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll see you all later. Have a great night. And peace out, everybody.